Dun, 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 dun. Hello, hello. Is there some audio? I have no idea. I don't know. Do, 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 do. Hello? Hello, world? I don't see an image. Now I see something. Do I also hear my voice? I don't hear my voice. But is it an issue of me? I don't know. Let's see. I think it's an issue by me. Let's restart the headset. And let's try again. No, I still don't hear sound, but I think it's really a me issue and not someone else's fault. I think it's really a me issue. And now I hear something. Okay.
1 week ago, we had a...
Yeah, now it's working perfect. Then let's close everything. And welcome to today's stream that I already mentioned yesterday, where we will now develop an audio service for our little game. But before we do that, I actually want to quickly check something. So we upgraded Gradle yesterday, but there is also the possibility to update Kotlin. Ooh, what the hell? Were a lot of things updated? I don't know why, but seems like I was not on the latest version of the master branch. Okay, interesting. Then let's go inside here, and there is a Kotlin 20.021 version. And didn't we also see a TVM version of 0.10.2 yesterday? Let's see, TVM version. Okay, so it's actually 0.10.0. I thought we saw yesterday's 0.10.2, but whatever. Let's see. Hello, Moldy. And why are you laughing? Why is it a lol hi and not just a hi? Okay, everything seems to still work. That's great. Okay, so first of all, it's very hot in here because the computers nowadays tend to heat up the room quite a lot. Yeah, so what I want to do, so maybe I talk a little bit about my idea so that you know the thought process behind what I do when I develop such a feature. So first of all, I have a so-called service locator, where it's just an interface which provides all the different services that we need in our game. And one implementation, and I think it's the only implementation at the moment, is the lazy service locator, which actually initializes everything lazily. So you pass in the initializers of the different services, and then they get created with by lazy in Kotlin. And since audio is also something which we need everywhere in our game, so for example, when we press a button in the menu and move around the cursor, we want to have a sound effect. When we cast a spell during combat, we want to play some sound effects. When we load a map or a cutscene, we want to play some music. and stuff like that. So since I already went with this service locator approach or pattern or whatever you want to call it, I think we will stick to that. And we will just add a new service, which we will then call Audioservice. And then we have that theoretically available everywhere in our game where we need it. And I will add a tiny little feature that I picked up in a video that I saw recently, but I will explain that when we come to that. And other than that, we will define a file reference where we might need to adapt I'm not even sure, maybe it's just an enum. So we will load then some background music for the map. And I want to also have like a bling effect when we make a decision in the dialogue or move the cursor. So that's what I want to achieve today. Because I'm the one doing the change with request. You are the Anderwoche. Okay. I remember you. Are you German? No, I'm from Austria. So I speak German, but I'm not from Germany. By the way, I think you did not answer to one of my latest comments. So I saw, I don't know how I can get to that anymore, but I saw that you made a comment in one of the commits. I have no idea how I can get to that, where you ask why the system, let me quickly find that, had the private something, or let me check it with comparator. Exactly here you were asking why this is private and not protected anymore. And I answered you that, yes, that got changed in one of the commits where we introduced that you can add and remove systems after the world was created. But in my opinion, it's correct that it was changed to private, and protected does not help you at all, since it's a constant. So you anyway cannot change it later on, and you just define it in the constructor of your system. So that's why I was wondering if the protected even helps you, because I don't think so. You might need a change that this is not a constant. Instead, you might need a variable, but I wasn't sure. Because I use it in a superclass, I have many families and want the same comparator. But why do you need protected? Can you not pass it as well as an argument to your superclass? And your superclass is then calling the interval system constructor? Or in this case, the iterating system, sorry. So whatever class you have, you can also pass in the comparator and sorting type, and just pass that then directly to the iterating system constructor. That should work. Okay, then back to here. Where did I create all these services? I'm not sure. I think I always put them in specific packages. So we will make a new package just for the audio stuff to be consistent. I think here we don't really need an interface. I will not have multiple implementation of this audio stuff. What could be, so just to give you an idea about this service locator, and one thing that you could do. So normally, or if you really want to have a clean architecture, you would have an interface like the Audioservice interface, and then the different implementations. And one way could be that you just have like a default Audioservice which does the implementation, so playing sound effects, audio, and so on. Then there could be one implementation which is like, I don't know, a logging audio service, which is additionally doing some logging stuff in your class. And maybe another implementation could be like a null audio service for some test cases where you don't want to have music and sound, but the calls in the game, of course, which are creating some sound effects or whatever, they should, of course, still pass. So it could be just an empty implementation of the interface. But in my opinion, I will not have that in that game. And I like to start simple. So we will just have one version of our audio service, and that's it. And I'm thinking now that maybe we need to load the music stuff and unload it here on demand. So normally what I do, I think I have that here already. Yes, I have a loading screen. So normally what I also did in the tutorials is that I preload almost all the assets and be done with it. But I think I did not do that in that game so far from what I know. So really, let me quickly check. There is a tiled map service. I forgot a little bit about the things because did not work on the project for like a month because there was a longer holiday now and things like that. But in here, if I remember correctly, yeah, I'm loading the map. I finish loading it, and I think also it gets unloaded at some point, I could imagine. Yes, so here unload the tiled map assets and do it. And the similar approach I want to do for the audio service, because otherwise, imagine we have, I don't know, 200 megabytes of audio files. We would then load 200 megabytes of audio stuff into our RAM, which nowadays most likely is not a huge issue, but we can avoid that by just loading one music file at a time, because anyway, there will be just one music playing at the time. Maybe two if we have like some fade out, fade in effect or things like that. But that's it. We don't need to load all, I don't know, 30 music tracks or something like that. And in the end, we will need two methods. I am thinking now, I think we don't need to return anything. So that would be just play. And now it would be a question is if we pass in a string. I don't really like that a lot. So I would say we have a music asset most likely. We did not implement that yet. And yeah, then we do something here. And the other version would be, I think we don't need public in Kotlin, right? Also, a long time since I programmed in Kotlin, obviously. So I forgot the syntax a little bit. And we have a sound asset. And here I want to pass in something special, which would be the, how is it called? I think it's pitch. But I would need to check that. What is the purpose of that? So there I saw a little video recently where in a game, let's imagine you have a sound effect when you swing your sword. And when you play that again, so when the player is spamming the button, then you always do this sword swinging, and there's always this sound effect of the sword is whoosh, whoosh. And that's a little bit boring if you hear that same sound effect 10 times in a row or all the time. And one option to make that a little bit more exciting without creating a lot of different sound effects is to change the pitch, if that is the correct term. I would need to check that in a moment, so that the swing is sometimes a little bit darker or whatever you want to call that, sometimes a little bit brighter. It simply sounds a little bit different when changing the pitch factor. By default, we don't want to specify that, so it should be just a normal version, but that's it. So I don't know if this is a good time, but I would be happy if you quickly look at the comment I wrote in the Flex repository. Of course, we can do this. How do I find comments in here? Here, I got a notification, it seems. Okay, so you have an input system which extends iterating system. Where you pass in the family, the comparator enabled, and that's it. New family sort. I can't sort. Okay, I get why you want to have access to the comparator. One thing first, I would not do that in the constructor. Because that is simply not working most likely correctly. So if you are creating, I don't even know if we throw an exception nowadays. There was a discussion in the past. The problem is, imagine you have, make it simple, 3 systems. In the first system, you create a family. Is that the correct one? Yes, you create a family for entities with component A. In the second system, you create, and you are already, I don't know, sort the entities or whatever. In the second system, you are now in the constructor of the system creating 3 entities. They will get part of the family then of the first system, but they will not get sorted because actually they get created afterwards because of the constructor entity creation. And a system has now specific, I think, an on create or on init function or something like that. And in that function, I would do the sorting and the entity creation, because that one, there you can be sure that the entities are part already of all the different families and that they are updated correctly. In a constructor, you won't have that behavior because, as mentioned before, it could be that a system which gets created after your input system is creating some entities, and then at that time that you call here the sorting, the entities are of course not part yet of that family. And coming back to your initial problem here, making it protected would solve your problem, but let me quickly check. I think you can also do something else because, yeah, so what would be already, or what should already work, is that you simply call the onSort function. Because that one, as you see, it simply is sorting the family if you tell it that it should sort it. So by default, the sorting algorithm or mechanism, whatever you want to call it, is automatic, which means it simply sorts all the time when you call it. So you could simply call onSort of the system and that's it. Because you are accessing the family of that system. No, you have a different one. It's a different family. Okay. No, then that will not work. So then you are right. You definitely need then the comparator, because you're passing it here to the constructor and you don't have access to it. Okay, yeah, I get it. But protected would be sufficient then for you, right? You don't need it as a variable. Yeah, I get it. So you want to have, just protect it. I think that's a really small change. Let me simply fire up the project. So we are just changing here this one to protect it, right? And that's it. I think that we will see in the automatic. What does it say? Comparator could be private. Yes, it could be, but we don't do that. So here, reverts comparator and sorting type to protected scope to be able to get access to them inside a user system, something like that. And let's commit that. Wait, also, did I update here the Gradle version already? Yep, we have that. Oh, and also we can also update the Kotlin version. I think that also will not break anything. So we can go to 21. Where I also need to update the batch, which is this one. 21. Okay, and we make the two separate commits. So this one here is to get that back to protected scope. Okay. And this one here is update Kotlin version 2.2021. And let's push that. Push to commits, push to files. So there will be now some automatic process happening in the background. We can monitor that. But when that one is finished, then in a few minutes, I don't know actually how long it takes, maybe half an hour, I have no idea, you will have it available in the snapshot release. Then you can try that out, and then it should hopefully solve your problem. But I'm confident and positive that it will do so. Also, since I think sometimes with the comments, I'm not sure how people take it because they don't see my face and my expressions and everything. Because you were also the guy which made a pull request for the change with the entity back implementation, where you had a look at the collection and iterable stuff and so on, and you invested some time into it. And I hope that you are not disappointed or something like that, or feel down because I did not want to take over those changes. I explained why I did not want to take them over. But please don't take that personally or something. It was just something that I felt it's too much changes and also some breaking changes in the library, which currently I don't want to introduce. And since I think you mentioned you anyway found a different solution to your problem, I think it was not worth it to take over all these changes. But still, I was very grateful and thankful for your time. I also had some look then into the different interfaces and what is an iterable. I actually found out that an array has then an iterator as well with a very simple implementation. So it was interesting to look into that. But in the end, I did not want to take that over, and I hope that did not demotivate you or anything. In general, I would praise you for your good work. I like the ECS very much. That was a wild idea. All good, I can understand that well. Okay, that's great to hear. Yeah, with the Flex library itself, I think it's from feature-wise, it's almost complete. So at least there were not a lot of, there are always smaller requests which we introduce into the library, but I think nothing big is missing, and there were always workarounds to solve almost everything. For me personally, what I would still like to introduce at some point, but I never had the time for it, would be to most likely add an annotation processor to the library, that we don't need this boilerplate stuff for the component creation, at least for the default component, which just has one type. I would still prefer that there is like an annotation that you just write add component over your class, and then it creates the boilerplate code in the background. And same for the system. So still, I'm not a big fan of defining the family in the constructor. I would also still prefer that to have that with annotations over the system, with like add all, add any, and add none. I think those are the 3 things for a family. And then also just automatically create the correct code for it. But yeah, that takes some time to look into annotation processes and how they work and what we can do. But if I ever have the time and motivation for it, that would be then Flex version 3 dot something. And that would be then most likely the final version for me for that library. Yeah, with the relations, I can also, not sure if I mentioned that. With relations, there was also some, was it a discussion? Let me remove that filter. Entity relationship. Yeah, there was this discussion, which, that was not you, where someone tried to add some relations and I gave him some ideas how he could solve it differently. He had then a look at least for his use case, where he mentioned he tried many things and he thought then that my approach is simply working for him. I got the idea, so I think he had a link somewhere which describes the entity relation, so I understand would be a nice feature to implement. But yeah, the way or why I did not implement it is simply that I don't have the motivation to do that, because for me, I don't see a benefit in doing it. As mentioned, I saw a different approach how you could do it. Of course, maybe a syntax with a relation stuff would be nicer. But in the end, I don't feel like I will implement that. If anyone wants to do a pull request for that, feel free to do it, but I won't add it. Okay, back to our stuff. So I said that we will have a music asset and sound asset. So that will be a new enumeration class, and we call it, what did I say, music asset, where we have something, I don't know, we will rename that later on, so music 1. And the path for every music asset will be most likely in a music folder, I would say. That's it. And then we also have a sound asset for the different sound effects. And there we also have a path which will be in a separate sound folder. And in the end, in our asset service, we need to load, unload music at least, and get the music and the sound file. So that would be it. And we want to have there, of course, type safe versions. So we have a load asset, music asset. That would be manager load music asset.path. Is there anything special to it? I don't think so. Then we have an operator function get music asset music blah blah blah. Yep. And the same thing we need for the sound assets. And here we are not loading a music, we are loading a sound. And as mentioned here we also need an unload methods. Okay. And there is it manager unload? How did I do it in the tiled map? Yeah, it's manager unload. Of course, comments and everything are missing, but we can add them later on. I think that's everything that we need in here. Then coming back to the service. So that should now compile already. Yep, that's great. Okay, thank you for joining and have a great evening, Moldy. So as mentioned, let me quickly check. I think the snapshot version should be available soon. So normally this build process takes up to 10 minutes, I think. Then it's uploading it to Maven Central or whatever that ends up in the end, or Sonar type somewhere. And then you should have the version available. Okay, so for music stuff, we need to remember our last music, I would say. Yep. And when we play something, so we check, is last music not equal to null? I think there we need to optimize that a little bit. So if there was a music, then we need to stop it and unload it. So actually that would be last music assets. And we will also need last music, which is a music instance. That was my mistake. I'm not a big fan of using null in Kotlin, but I think in that specific scenario, it makes sense. But we do it here a little bit differently. So here we use the let stuff. So that will be the music. Then we need to stop the music which was playing before. And also in the asset service, we want to unload the last music asset. Yeah, so just quickly, we will not implement it like that. And we need to finish loading to really unload it properly. And finally, oh wait, we do that here because here we also need to load the new music asset. Then we finish loading and then we assign the last music, which is from our asset service, the music asset. And we will play it. Or is that loop? Okay, we will play it. And maybe here we can pass in loop, which is a Boolean, and by default it's true. That is a mutable property, so in theory it can be null. Then let's do it like this, new music. Okay, also we need to, what can we do here? Can we set is looping? Yes, that one will be loop. And new music volume is equal to music volume. So that's a property that we pass into the constructor, I would say. So we have a music volume, which is a float, and by default it's 1. And we also have a sound volume, which also by default is 1. Okay, so what is here the problem? Well, not is playing, is looping. Okay. Let's make it a little bit different. Let's say here with the music, we want to say and assign that to it. Or is it this? It's this. Okay. So music asset. I think, let me quickly think that through. We will assign that to something, because then we can avoid here the exclamation mark, and it depends just on the last music, makes it a little bit easier to understand. I would say also we need to assign that. So remember music asset and music instance for unloading, stopping later on. So here we have the last music, and we also need the last music asset, which is the one that we pass in. Okay, let me think that through once more. So we play a music file. If there, let's comment that here, stop previous music instance, if there is any, and unload it. So if there is any, we stop the music. We say that we want to unload this last music asset. Yeah, I'm thinking of maybe combining those two things into a new music data class. I think that makes it even more cleaner, and I like it. Oh, that was some advertisement. So we will, I think, for sure do that. Then we load the new music asset, finish loading. Load new music assets and finish unloading loading process. So at that point, we have it available. And then play new music. That would be this one. So we have then access to it. We say if it should loop or not. We have the volume. We play it. And finally, we remember it to stop it and unload it in the future. Okay, so one more thing. Data class, how do we call that? Music would be a good name, but that clashes then with LibGDX all the time, which is a little bit annoying. Let's call that music. How could we call it? I think, do we need the same for the sound? No, we just need that for the music. I have another idea. I think in Kotlin there is a built-in class pair. Yep. Which is of type music and music assets. And that one we call last music. Yep. And that's a nullable pair. Okay, we could, wait. That one could be just an empty pair, right? So let's, I always write the Java syntax, which is quite annoying. Okay, then pair, is there pair.empty or something? No. Just an, but I would need to pass that in. Okay, then it's really nullable and it's null. Let's do it like that. That should work. Keep moving forward. Hello, Cryptide. Okay, so now we have that available, and then let's deconstruct that. So we have then the music let's call that previous music and previous music asset. We stop it and we unload it. And here we then make a new pair. The first thing is the music itself, and the other thing is the music asset. So that's it. So then, yeah, built-in class, I think that's acceptable and makes it a little bit cleaner here with the null safety that we had before. And yeah, I think that's good so far. Then, oh, by the way, we also need a update function. Yep, and let me sit down. Okay, so because with sound effects, I don't want to play them immediately, or should I keep it simple? So the problem that I mentioned in one of my tutorials is that if you play the same sound effects multiple times, let's say we make 6 calls to an explosion effect, then it's 6 times as loud as it normally would be, because simply the sound waves are overlapping and then you get a big sound wave and it's super loud. That could be avoided if we somehow remember the calls to the different sound effects that are played and just play them once. But I'm just thinking now in my game that I have in mind, I think that's simply impossible because we just have normal overworld movement in the village, so there will be no sound effects spamming at all. And we have a round-based combat system where just one attack or one spell at a time can happen. There will be no concurrent attacks. So also there, it's basically impossible to get overlapping sounds. So I would say again, we keep it simple. If we need to change that later on, we can still do that. But for now, keep it simple. And what we then do, so for sound effects, we assume that they are preloaded. So we simply get the sound instance. And then we play it. And there are several arguments, which are, we don't see that because we don't have the documentation. So let's download it. Okay, volume. It is called pitch, actually. The pitch multiplier. 1 is default, greater 1 is faster, less than 1 is slower. The value has to be between 0.2 and 2. Okay, so we can, first of all, prevent that. So play, there we have the sound volume. And for the pitch, 0.5 and 2. I think it was, right? And last one is just 1. Yep. Let's check once more. So pitch, the pitch multiplier, blah, blah, blah. The value has to be between 0.5 and 2. Panning in the range -1 to 1. 0 is center. Okay, so actually pan would be 0. And write that down so that we know it. Why does that not work? Named arguments are not allowed for non-Kotlin functions. Because it's a Java function, we cannot do that. Okie dokie. Okay, and we get back a sound instance. But yeah, that's it. the music volume, we actually make them normal attributes, because when we set the value, we want to make sure that it's between 0 and 1. I obviously did something wrong. Property music volume could be private. No, I don't want that. And that's not equal. It's like that. Okay, and the same down below for the sound volume. That's also between 0 and 1. Okay. Okay, then data class here, I think, does not really make sense. We could create our own toString and just include the volumes. I think maybe also the last music, that makes more sense for that. Okay, so we have, let me think that through. We have play music, we have playing of a sound effect. What we are currently missing is that the sound effects are not loaded, but let's quickly fix that. There we have sound assets, entries, and for each asset service load. So that's it. Then we have the sound effects, which are usually very small files, like between 1 and, I don't know, 5 kilobytes. And we won't have thousands of those. So I think that's acceptable that we just simply load them into the RAM and have them available all the time. Makes it a little bit easier for accessing them like we do it here. Okay, so play makes sense. Then we also need to maybe pause the entire audio stuff. So there it would be, how does that work? Isn't there sound.pause? I forgot how that was. Let me quickly look that up. Where did I implement it the last time? Most likely Mystic Woods in the YouTube tutorial, I could imagine. And I think we have there, was it a system back then? Audio system. Blah, blah, blah. Q sound. No, did I really not implement pausing of sounds? Ah, here. Sound cache values for each. It pause. What is the sound cache? That was the sound instances. Okay. Ah, okay. Wait. I get it. Okay, here it was implemented a little bit differently, but yeah, really, I get it. Also, that I think that would be in general not a bad idea to have a sound cache, which is a faster access to the sound instance in the asset manager than always loading it. And that one is simply a mutable map of a sound asset to a sound instance. Okay. So what we can do the first time a sound is played. Let me think. So if sound cache is empty, then initialize cache. Also here I want to have some logging available. So let's add some logger to the audio service, and here we will mention log.debug. Initializing sound cache, and we then simply iterate over all the sound entries, and for each of those we will do sound cache put. So the sound asset is it, and asset service it, that's the sound instance. Yep. Then we can also write down here sound cache size, blah, 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 sound entries in cache, in sound cache. Okay, and finally, we can now access it here like that. And make it like this. So it could be in theory null. In my opinion, it will never be. So it would be like that. And finally, here we can now have our sound cache, iterate over everything, and I don't get it. Where's the pausing happening here? Values. The values are sound instances, and then values for each it.pause. It's not entries, it's the values. I think now we have it, and now it's pause all of them. Okay, and also from our last music, if it is available, then we will also pause the music. Hey, can provide the Kotlin study session. Hello, Vishnu. What do you mean with that? Sorry, I don't understand that. Then let's resume also the things which I think should be the same. So hopefully there is a resume, and here one, and that one is also, I think here it's just play again. Yep. Okay, and that's it. Do we need to dispose anything? I don't think so, because we have the asset service. The asset service is disposing the music and sound files. Here we are always loading and unloading. That should be fine. Then here we are initially, we've loaded all the sounds before. Here we remember them internally in a separate cache. Disposing is again happening later on. No, I think we do not need, we don't need to dispose anything here. Okay, then coming back to our service locator. Here we will add something new, an audio, which is an audio service. Why don't I have access to that? Public should be the default modifier. So I should have. Oh, I Stupid me, I made that in the test folder actually, so that's stupid. Let's move that up here. Okay, so now we have it available. And in addition, we need an initializer here, which, let me think, it requires the asset service and returns an audio service. Okay. That's it. That could be still a one-liner, right? Yeah, that's not too long. Okay, so we have that one. And finally, we have here an audio service by lazy audio service initializer, where we pass in the asset service. And that's it. So we have everything available, and in theory, that should already work. We need a music file and a sound file for testing. Let me check something. So the Ninja Adventure, does that have, it has sound effects as well and music, it seems like. So what is Village? How does that sound like? I think we will for now just roll with the, what's a little bit, it's a little bit loud. I think for now we will just roll with the default assets that we have. Okay, that's what is peaceful. Adventure. I liked Revelation more. Let's listen to Village once more. Village is also quite nice, I would say. What is Road? Okay, let's take those two. So we start with those two music assets. Let's stop the music now. So in our assets folder here, we have a new music folder. We will paste in those two things. And let's rename it. Let's call that that's just Village OGG, and the other one is Road OGG. Okay, so we have music files to test, and now we also need sound effects. Let's see. It's hard to hear it, but I think we would take menu 2 for, how do we call that? That would be menu click. What is accept again? That sounds weird. Yeah, let's take that also over. That would be menu accept. Okay, then let's update our assets here. So we have village music asset and a road. And here we have a menu accept and menu click. Okay. That's it. That's sound and music. Okay, we could integrate it already directly into the game. But I don't want to do that. I want to make a test for the audio stuff. Makes it a little bit easier to check if everything is working the way I expect it to be. And then we can add the logic to our game to, for example, load the music when a map is loaded. So so first of all, there is a test for the service locator, if I remember correctly. Yep. So verify that initializer args are properly called. That one we need to enhance. So let me, how did I do that before? So we have an audio service, which is a mock object of the audio service. And every time the, I also need the initializer here at the top. So every time the audio service initializer, which is also a mock, which takes in a function which has an asset service and returns an audio service. And every time this initial function is invoked for the asset service, then we return the audio service. Okay, that would be the mock. Then here we pass in the audio service initializer. And finally, we want to verify that our audio service should be same instance as service locator.audio. So let's see if the initialization is working. Okay, and then we have one additional special test here. So verify audio service gets correct asset service instance. Yeah, okay, so we have our lazy service locator with audio service initializer, which takes in the assets and it creates an audio service for the assets. And we have an asset service initializer, which simply returns an asset service, I guess. Yeah. We might need to mock that, but let's see in a moment. And then service locator audio should not be null. And then audio dot, I don't have access to the asset service here. Let's make it public. Should be same instance as the asset service from here. Let's verify that. That is also working. Okay, so we of course knew that before, that we did not make any mistakes, but now we know it for sure. Okay, and finally what we now need is a test for the audio package, and let's call that audio service tests. And here we have a small problem because we cannot play music and sound effects if we don't have the open AL, I think the open audio context. So we definitely need a GDX test instance. Let me quickly check. How did I do that? I did it like this. So we have a function and we could call that audio test, which creates an audio test. And this is simply a class which extends KTX application adapter. I think that should be it. Yeah, I think so. And in here we have, first of all, a asset service that I want to get from somewhere. Do I have a test where I already create one? Let me quickly check that here. Yep, let's take this one. So we need an asset service and we also have the audio service that we actually want to test. Then we have a dispose method where we dispose of our asset service. And finally, let me quickly think that through. In create, we are going to load a music asset, which is the village and the road. We might need to put that into the test resources. Actually, I think I'm pretty sure we need to put it there. And we also need to load the sound menu click. I think that's it. So then we finish loading of all of that. So we have it available. And then in our render method, we don't do a lot. We simply check. So when, well, let's write it first down with an if GDX input is key just pressed num1, then we play music asset village and loop it. Then if we press the button 2, then we play the road music, but we don't loop it. If we press the button 3, then we play the menu click. And if we press the button 4, we play it with a pitch of 0. And finally, if we press 5, then with a pitch of 2. And there will be 2 more things. There will be 6, which is Audioservice pause. And 7 is Audioservice resume. That's it. And replace it with when. And that's it, right? I think that's it. Can I make that? Yeah, let's make that single lines. Since they are not super long, makes it a little bit easier to read again. Okie dokie. So let's try. Wait, I need to copy and paste those resources to our test resources. And we don't need menu accept. We just need the click sound for now. Good, good, good. Let's try it out. Let's make here 1 to 7 to play, stop, music, sound. A little bit of a description, and let's see. That one breaks unknown file extension for music village. Aha. Why is that? Couldn't load dependency of asset music village. So I'm 100% sure that OGG files are supported. I could imagine that the sample size or whatever it's called is not correct. Let's look that up. So LibGDX music. For any sound that's longer than a few seconds, it's preferable to stream it from disk with a music. To load music instance, this loads an MP3 file called blah 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 from the internal data. Playing back the music instance works as follows. Blah 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 blah. Can I somewhere see supported formats? I have tried the following formats. Other formats could cause problems when you try to load it. Was OGG supported? No. But it's weird. It's mentioning, what does it say? Unknown file extension for... wait. Could it be... Yeah. That's the problem here. It's actually .ogg. And that one here is .wave currently. So the path is simply not correct. Let's try it one more time. Okay. Okay, you might not hear it, but I hear music. But it's very, very... Let's make it a little bit louder. I think like that you should hear it. So how long is it? Because I want to test if it's looping properly or not. It's about a minute. And I think it's looping, so I don't even know when it's repeating itself. So let's just assume looping is working. Okay, so here it stopped the old music. We should add some logging information as well to the audio service. And number 3 was crashing. What was number 3? Asset not loaded. Sound menu accept. Did we... I actually want to play menu click. Wait, that is... Yeah, so here actually load all the sound assets, which is maybe not ideal, because in this test case, I don't load all the sounds. So let's do that differently. So let's say if sound asset not in our sound cache, like so, then we put that into the cache. And let's call it like this. So adding sound asset to sound cache. Okay. And also up here, I also want to have some debug information. Unloading previous music, previous music assets. And here log debug, playing new music asset, some information. I think here we also need to set then the log level to debug level, but that should be it. So let's try it one more time. Okay, yeah, so playing new music village, unloading previous music village, playing new music road, that's correct. Okay. Adding menu click, that's good. Just one time. The pitching is also working. You might not hear that, but I hear it, so that's working as well. Then 6 is pause. Pause and resume is also working. What is if I pause and I play now the road? Okay, then it's... Okay, that's a bug. Not sure if that can actually happen. Let me think that through. So we would be in a paused state of the game. And for whatever reason, we would call that the music should be played. That resumes the music. I think that's okay. I think that's actually fine. Yeah, so in total, that's working. So our audio service is working properly. That looks very, very good. Disposing asset service, 2 music files, 2 references to road OGG. Why is it 2? 1 to the village and 1 to the sound click. Okay, that's weird. Why do we have 2 references to road? Wait, is that coming from if we play the same music twice? So let me just play it once and once. Then we still have 2 references to road. That's weird. I don't get that. Why? Load village, load road, finish loading. Ah, that's... Wait. That's wrong. We don't need to load the music assets in the test. They are loaded on demand. Now it should be 1 and 1. Ah, not even. The village is actually unloaded. Okay, that's correct. So we just need to load the sound assets that we want to use. And that's it. I think we can actually update that. So wait. We can improve on that. So the loading screen, we don't load all the sound effects anymore. I think that's totally unnecessary. And since we have a caching mechanism in our audio service, we can do it like that. So if it's not in here, then load sound instance into sound cache. We could do something like that, which would be asset service, load sound asset, then finish loading, then we get access to it, have it available, and is that it? I think that's it. Load it from the asset service. Yep. Ah, we could do, I don't know, maybe something special. we would need to do that before here. So if sound cache size is greater than, I don't know, let's say 100, then that would be more like an info. Sound cache exceeds size of 100, clearing it. So what we will do here, do we just clear it and that's it? Or should we also unload everything? I think we should actually then unload everything. So then we would have sound cache, entries, no, keys. Let me think, yep. And for each of those, we will unload it. We don't have this function yet, but we can add that, of course. So here, it's just copy and paste of that, of the sound assets. Yeah. Then back here. So we unload it. We could write that into like this. Okay, so we unload everything. Then we finish the unloading. Then we clear the cache and cache is too big. Remove current sound instances, or unload actually. Unload. Okay, then we will, if it's not in there, we will add it to the cache and otherwise we will simply play it. Okay, let me test that one more time. So in theory, we actually don't need to load anything here at all. So village, road, village, that looks good. Then okay, and we unload village, we unload the menu click and just one reference. That looks good. I think that's way better now. Let's have a look once more and then I think I will commit these changes for now. So there is an issue that menu accept is never called, but okay, that's acceptable. That will happen then in a moment when we, or later on when we add the sound effects to the menu itself, to the cursor selection and so on. So we have a new music asset, which is currently fixed to the OGG format, but right now we don't need anything different. Otherwise, updating that is not that difficult. Same with the sound asset. For now, it's just wave, but we could add an argument to the enum class and then just pass in the sound type or format, and that's it. So that's okay. Then we have loading, unloading, all that stuff. Without the comments. The comments I will add later on. Then we have the service class. I think that one is good to go. Yeah, that worked. We have the test for it, so that looks good. Then we have the service test, which we have just written. That's also fine. Here we can already commit that update. Oh wait, do I also have there a patch in the README? I'm not sure. I have, so let's update here as well. 2021. So that would be this change here and the README. Update Kotlin to... Okay, then Gradle update. I think that one we can also simply commit, right? Yeah. Update Gradle to 8.10.2. Okay, then we have updated the test with for the service locator with the new audio service. That's also fine. Then the tiled thingy, we can simply revert it. I think that was yesterday when I was showing something. This file always gets updated. Then we have some music and audio resources at audio resources. Okay, and finally the service locator class, which now gets a new audio service, which was also working. Yep. So at audio service and audio service test. Okay, let's commit and push that. Okay, looks good. Then let me check. What did I mention here? Music load, unload, sound, preload in loading screen. Yeah, we did that differently, in my opinion, in a better way. So that's fine. What we are missing at menu click and menu accept to UI, for example, dialog option, dialog option selection, menu click. Dialog option switch would be menu click, and dialog option select would be menu accept. And the other thing would be add village music to village map and road music to road map. Load in tiled service. That's a question by me. Tiled service needs reference to audio service. Bad. Or load it in audio service. Audio service needs to be an event listener. I would say that's the way to go, which is good. And then register it in game class, for example. So that is still outstanding. So that's why here we are at around 50%. Are you going to have browser support for that game? Yes. And we actually, that's a good point. We already have browser support for that game. Let me check if that broke anything now. So because we added now some audio support. But that should hopefully not affect anything at all. So from what I remember, that worked in the past with TVM, that audio files could also be played. But let's try that out. That's a good point. Thank you, Peter. Let's see. Compiling. Takes a little bit of time. Let me also see if the workflow here finished properly. Okay, so that one is still executing. Prepare in place web app. Okay, so that one is up and running. Okay, that's a bad test because we actually did not add any sound or music effect to the game itself yet, so nothing is playing. But at least the game still seems to work. So we did not break anything here. That's fine. But yeah, we also did not add anything yet that plays audio files. But anyway, that should work from what I know. If you are interested, let me also share the link here. So that would be the link to the repository, and there's a link on the top right side where you can start the game. I don't know, might be broken at the moment because at the end of this workflow here, it publishes it's already happening now. So Audioservice and test. So this commit from before was successful. Now it publishes the new version to GitHub pages, which is now also up to date. So now when we click on it, that should run. Yes. So that's already working. Perfect. I will stop the stream here today. And most likely off screen, I will implement those two things here in the end. I could make a little update video on YouTube if people are interested to show the final result of this audio functionality. But for today, that's it, because as you see, it's 10 in the evening. I'm a little bit tired again. Happy with the progress that we made. Oh, by the way, I also need to, so that I don't forget that, I need to remind myself, add comments to assets file for new audio assets and methods, and add comments to Audioservice test, because I document every test, what the purpose is of it, that I still remember that when I have a look later on. And yeah, that's it for today. So thank you guys for watching. Have a great rest of your evening. And yeah, that's it. Thank you and bye-bye.